Hello again, this is Mary Catherine at Red Robin Farm. This is the last day of March, and I thought I'd spend a little time introducing you to my spinning wheel. This is a 200-year-old, approximately, I don't really know for sure, spinning wheel made by Silas Barnum. You can see way down here his signature, his stamp, S. Barnum, on the wheel. And for those of you who don't know much about a spinning wheel, I'll tell you the different parts. This is called the bench here. Adam drilled a little hole so I can keep this crochet hook, a very small crochet hook in there, and it's used here to draw the fiber through this little hole, which is called the orifice. This is the wheel. This is a double drive band. This is just cotton yarn that I've used to make a drive band on here. It's kind of a seamless two-loop band that keeps the wheel moving. This whole assembly here, all of this is called the mother of all. And it moves back and forth on the bench because it goes through a hole here. I have some little shims here to try to make it tighter. And this is the tension mechanism. You can make it tighter by pulling the mother of all out. And when I pull it out, of course, I make the drive band more taut. And when it's the tension is tighter, then the yarn feeds in through the orifice faster onto the bobbin. So if it's pulling too fast and I want it to slow down a little bit as far as how fast the yarn's going in, then I would just reach over and loosen by rotating it that way. Okay. On the mother of all, this is the flyer, this U-shaped piece here. It also has a metal shaft that runs through the middle of this bobbin, which the bobbin's here. And then on the other end screws on what's called the whorl. The drive band goes around the bobbin whorl, which is this groove here, and one of the two grooves in the smaller whorl. And these are two separate pieces. This whorl screws down. This has been the tricky spot in this wheel, is getting the whorl to stay close enough to the bobbin so that the bobbin doesn't jiggle around too much, but not so close that it tightens the bobbin down and doesn't let it spin, because the bobbin is really supposed to spin freely like that. There's two little leathers here, one on this end, if you can see that, another on this end, and that's where the flyer shaft pokes into this end and that end. And so the yarn is, when it's on the bobbin, I have a piece, that green piece is permanently attached, and the yarn goes through one of these hooks. You see I'm missing a couple here, missing a couple on the other side as well. The yarn goes around a hook and then through the orifice. And then this is my roving that you saw me comb and dizz, and now I'm going to try spinning it. Now I have to see if I can get this camera set somehow so that you can see what's going on. Maybe I can put something underneath it so it will tilt down without falling off the table. Wonder if that will work. Hope my hand doesn't get in the way, and maybe you can see what's going on as I spin. Okay, so we're gonna just pull on the yarn. I'll have just the right amount of fiber. And then the tension. Ooh, that's going to be a big... That piece looked a little big, but now that the tension's already gone into it, the twist, I can't really pull it out anymore. So I'm going to get some going down here. And I can even draw that tension on down for a very long draw. This is going underneath where the camera is. And if perchance my friend in Massachusetts, who very, very generously gave me this spinning wheel, it was in her 4th grade classroom and had been donated to the room by a family who didn't want it anymore. And it was just sitting there as kind of a history object lesson, but it was not really used, and it was kind of in the way, she said. And they were really, school was intending to throw it away, but it is just such a beautiful piece of historical machinery, and what I love is that it still works very well and spins yarn. And the other thing you do after you spin yarn, after you spin 2 pieces of yarn, it's very important to ply them together, because as I put this yarn onto this bobbin, you can see it twist a very particular way. And if I stop it, let me get some good twist in here. If I stop it, look at what it does. This is called a pigtail. It's got so much twist. And so if I tried to knit with just this, it would twist up on me and it would be very difficult to knit with. And so what you do is you have 2 pieces of yarn, and when I ply them, and plying means I put them together through the orifice onto the bobbin, when I do that, I spin the spinning wheel the other direction, and I have to actually put my drive band on in reverse as well. And when I go the other direction, the twist is balanced out, and then you have a 2-ply piece of yarn that doesn't twist up into little pigtails when you try to use it. And washing it does help take some of the twist out too. I did this video before, and I'm sorry to say this spinning wheel had a terrible squeak right in the wheel where the shaft is, and in the big wheel. And that squeak was so loud when I listened to the video, I thought, oh, nobody's going to be able to bear to listen to this video. So I deleted that video, and then I got out my oil. I used a little olive oil to oil this wheel, this machine, because it needs to be oiled. Listen to it spin. Isn't that fun? And it's taken a good bit of practice for me to get to where I can do this and talk at the same time and not be insanely nervous. But and this is not very great yarn. This is rather inconsistent yarn. Some of it gets kind of thick and bulky, and sometimes I have big chunks that go through. But I do this for my personal enjoyment, and I am not a perfectionist in my things I do for my enjoyment. And so it doesn't have to be perfect for me to be peaceful and happy. And as you know from listening to me, I do like activities that lend to peace. And when I first started spinning, it was not a peaceful activity. Now, I'm not going to get a lot onto this bobbin because I already loaded the bobbin once with some of the yarn that you saw me comb and diz. And then I just had this little bit left. Now, let me show you one thing. I don't know if you can see this, but, oh, that's looking kind of bunchy. Very bunchy. The bobbin is filling up here, and if I want it to fill up further up, I just have to move the yarn to a higher hook on this side. And that helps me to load the bobbin in its entirety. That's how you do that. I do hope that that camera is still videotaping. I've had some trouble with it today, cutting off, and unexpectedly, even though it's supposed to keep going, and I don't know why it's doing that. So we will hope for a complete video. Sometimes the yarn does pull through the orifice too fast, and I can't keep up with it. I'm doing what I'm called drawing, when I pull my hands apart and I pull the yarn longer, so that I don't have big bunches of yarn. That's called drawing the fiber. And sometimes I can't draw fast enough to keep up with the pull of the tension that's pulling this fiber, this yarn, onto the bobbin. And at the same time, my foot is treadling up and down on the treadle underneath, and that's, of course, what is causing the wheel to spin. And in the background you hear some nice music. That's a group called Secret Garden. I forget which album this is. It's either White Stones or Dreamcatcher. And it's rather appropriate because I first started listening to their music when I lived in Massachusetts, a number of years ago, which is when I first met my friend, a fellow teacher, Annie. And we taught at a small school south of Worcester. or as they say it up there, Worcester. I only lived in Massachusetts for 1 year, but I learned something that nobody ever tells you about Massachusetts, and that is that it is a very beautiful state. And I love rural areas, and its rural areas are just dreamily beautiful. Okay, I'm to the end of this roving. Woo! There it goes. All right, let's see if this is still going. It is. Oh, good. Yeah, let me just show you really quickly. There's the treadle down there. I always take my slipper off. So when I want it to go that way, treadle it, you see how that's called the footman on the back. That's a stick that goes from the treadle up to the wheel. And it goes up and down and keeps this wheel moving, moving, moving. And I am spinning that bobbin around with nothing feeding onto it, which is okay. That's just a little bit of yarn, and I'll get it off there. I do take it off, and I put my yarn, let me show you what I do with that. Let's come over here. This is the first big bobbin full of that yarn that I did. So there's the other video I was doing. I was identifying some herbs for my herbal ointment. I load my yarn, take it off of the bobbin because I only have one bobbin, and I put it onto toilet paper rolls because I have tons of these. And they are all exactly the same weight, exactly the same size. And so, as I said, I want to do a 2-ply yarn. After I get 2 of these, if I'm wondering if they have somewhat comparable amounts of yarn, I can weigh them. And if they weigh the same, and I know that the 2 toilet paper rolls are the same, then I feel pretty certain I have comparable yarns on either one, and I can ply them, and one won't be too much longer than the other. I also have to kind of flare the ends of the toilet paper roll to keep the yarn from slipping off the ends, because it likes to do that. See, like that. Well, maybe since the video is still running and it hasn't done anything crazy yet, if I don't touch it wrongly, I'll show you what I wanted to show you before when it cut off. And that is these beautiful herbs. This is now the 4th time I've tried to record this, so I apologize. This is a nice basket I have that I got at Fort Herod, Kentucky, 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago on a trip. I saw the lady making this basket. She did mention that a natural basket like this, of course, needs to be wet every now and then so it doesn't become dry and brittle. And so she would take her baskets and dip them in a big bucket of water to re-wet them and then let them dry again. Because this is a natural product. This is a tree. Of course it can get wet in the rain. So don't be afraid to get your baskets wet. It certainly will not ruin them. This is plantain. See those veins on the leaf? This is how you can identify plantain, is the vein runs all the way from the top to the other end of the leaf. This is narrow leaf plantain. This is yarrow. It's very ferny looking, and I know this is yarrow because I know where it is in my yard, and I've seen it bloom now for 3 years, and I know that it's a yarrow bloom, so I know that that's a yarrow. Plus it looks like yarrow, even the leaf does. And the other thing I pick for my ointment is dandelion. We have lots of these because we don't have we don't spray anything on our yard. Oh my goodness, no. We don't have, a lawn of grass. We have a yard of all kinds of weeds, but as I call them, herbs, because these are so beneficial to your skin. So I'm going to just wipe these gently. I don't want to remove the oils from them or damage them. And then I'll put them in this mason jar here, and I'll fill it, probably 2/3 of the way up with olive oil, and add a lot of coconut oil. And then I'll put it in some hot water in a double boiler, and I'll let it sit there and gently heat for about 24 hours until the oils are very green after they have been infused with these herbs. And then I will strain out the herbs and press all of that really well. And then I'll use the oils that are left over to make my ointment, adding a lot of other ingredients that are good for your skin. I took 6 tubs of that to the farmer's market this morning and sold all of them. because as soon as I tell people that it helps damaged skin, that is for light skin abrasions, burns, poison ivy, fire ant bites, and it works best when you put it on soon, right away. The sooner you put it on, the more effective it is. I only speak from personal experience and from customers who have come back to me, so I want to show you how to make it. I don't like to ship this stuff. It's a little too gloopy and oily, so I'm not trying to sell it to you. I just want for you to know, if you have these herbs in your yard, you have medicine in your yard that the Lord put there himself. Adam goes out when he has poison ivy and he can feel it coming on working on the farm. He goes out and gets a lot of this plantain in the yard, and he rips it up and he rubs it very vigorously on the spot where there is poison ivy, and the next morning it's gone. So I just want to encourage you, especially if, like some of my older customers, you have very sensitive skin, that everything you put on it from the pharmacy is only making it worse because you're applying chemicals to your skin, and your skin is just very delicate and it's very fragile and it's very sensitive as you get older. And what you need are natural products, not chemicals, because natural products are not going to irritate your skin the same way, probably. Certainly worth a try. So, anyway, I'm sorry to be bossy. I just really believe in these things because I've used them for years, and I find it wonderful and delightful to know that that God has put these things in his creation for our benefit. It's part of his design and plan for us. Not that it's not great to have medicine as well. I certainly believe in that too. So, let's say goodbye to the spinning wheel. Thank you for joining me today for that little bit of yarn you see on there. Maybe another time I'll let you see me ply it, although that happens pretty fast. Or maybe I'll have you over when we dye some yarn. That's pretty exciting too. And I love wrapping it up into a skein. A skein of natural yarn, I think, is one of the prettiest things in the world that I enjoy. Have a good evening. This is Red Robin Farm. Bye-bye.